Hi, this is Jill Schweitzer. Today we're talking about HOA 101, looking at HOA communities with your eyes wide open. The intent of the video is to help real estate agents better serve their clients, as well as help them minimize problems in the future. The agenda is identifying possible issues, community red flags, reserve studies and cost to maintain, and the HOA industry advisory. Identifying possible issues. Notice these issues before you buy. In this picture, someone put extra concrete in for parking. The question is this approved by the HOA? Ideally, you'd want to have something in writing from the HOA saying this is approved. Otherwise, you need to let your buyer know that a week after they close or 10 years after they close, the HOA could come at them and say, it's a violation, you have to remove the concrete slab. And then the only option the client has is to hire an attorney, because there is no department that regulates HOAs and management companies. So the client would have to hire an attorney if they want to argue it, or simply remove the extra parking slab, which may be why they bought the house in the first place. In this picture, these two condos look different than others in the community. And usually the problem is usually sellers don't have anything in writing that they just voluntarily give you when you make an offer, showing you that there's something different, but the HOA has approved it. For this, I'd look at the one on the left and say, these are cream colored window frames. Have they been approved by the HOA? Or the one on the right, instead of French doors, it has a single door. I'd be asking the same question. Was this approved by the HOA? My clients may still want to buy it if it hasn't gotten a written approval. However, I'd want my client to know that at some point in the future, the HOA could come back on the homeowner, my buyer, and require them to change the way it looks so that it conforms with the rest of the HOA. Extended condominium patio. In this diagram, you can see the area on the left has a star. That is dirt. The area on the right is concrete. This is different than the other patios in that neighborhood. This condo has sold several times with it never being an issue, but there's nothing in writing from the HOA giving approval, and a new board in the future could decide that that fence needs to be removed. If that buyer is buying it because there's a fenced-in area for their dog, they're not going to be very happy to find out they can't have their dog on their patio. So this is the kind of thing that you want to at least forewarn your client could happen. And then here's another picture of a fenced-in patio that's different than others. Moving along, in the next example, the client has a big truck that won't fit in the garage. And when you look down the street, the bigger cars are blocking the sidewalk. You're not allowed to block the sidewalk. And on the street, you can't park on the street. So if he wanted to buy that house, he would have to park his car down the street, around the corner, and hope that one of the guest spots is open. And then also hope that the HOA would allow a homeowner to use a guest spot. In this situation, we just go buy another house because this one's not going to work. Corner lots. In the picture, you can see the arrow where there's a lot of yard in between the property fence and the street. Even if the HOA says that they maintain this originally, at some point in the future, the HOA board could come and say that the homeowner is responsible for that area. So I always let my buyers know, you may be responsible for landscaping that area in between the fence and the road. I want to minimize the surprises that they may have in the future. My buyers get really excited sometimes about what they're going to buy, and they forget about other things, such as, in this example, he cannot start a Harley at 4 a.m. without creating a nuisance to the neighbors. In addition, him and his roommate between the motorcycles and having 3 or 4 cars, there's not sufficient parking for them. I wouldn't want to have him have problems with the HOA for the noise or for parking, so I would recommend looking elsewhere. Now, red flags, lack of maintenance is your first clue there could be a problem in an HOA. You're going to look around the community, rusting fence, poor workmanship, look at their block walls. If you have a chance to go after a good rain, you might see a grading problem. Exterior paint, asphalt, and trip hazards. The stucco with chicken wire showing. Rusting staircase support. More poor workmanship. And this is a bonus photo. In communities that are around 30 years old, a lot of them have these stairs. You and your client always want to hold the railings when you go up them, because sometimes they rust from the inside out and they can break, like in this photo, while you're walking up them. One more bonus picture. Usually you can't see inside the ceiling of the balcony, but in this case they have it opened up and there's severe water and termite damage. For any HOA, I would ask about the termite history. Have they had any extensive problems like this? When was the community last treated? Is there a warranty? And who's responsible for treating the community? What happens if you find termites in your unit? Does the HOA treat the interior, or does the buyer treat the interior? It's worth investigating that before you buy. Reserve studies. Just looking at a couple details can be eye-opening. On this page, this is all you, at a minimum, you should look at. In 2011, they were saving approximately $24,000 a year. The study says they should be saving $106,000 a year. That was 5 years ago. If you can ask if they've done any capital improvements in that time, that would be great. If they haven't done any, based on this, $106,000 a year, the current balance back in 2011 was $174,000. They should have about $700,000 saved. If they still only have the same and haven't been saving money and haven't been maintaining the property, then that 16% funded you see on there is even less. When it's 0 to 30% funded, the property is at a high risk of having a special assessment. Next, look at the cost to maintain communities. Is this a community that is a high-rise? Are there elevators? Do you have tile roofs? What is the age of the building? Who is responsible for balconies and staircases? Are there a lot of amenities? Is there a community lake that the HOA has to pay to maintain? How are the roads? The more expensive items there are, the higher that special assessment could be. So you look at the condition of the property, the reserve study, the cost to maintain a community, and you get a pretty good idea if it's a good or a bad HOA. Buyers still buy when it's a bad HOA. The difference is that they know going in, rather than being surprised with a special assessment later. For a copy of the sample HOA industry advisory, go to HOAsavers.com. It contains a lot of extra information to help protect your client so they realize what they're buying into. It's much more than just the financial condition. It talks about if they become late in their dues. It talks about insurance issues. It talks about management companies not being licensed and regulated. The buyers need to know this, because if they have a problem with their HOA, they have nowhere to go to for help except hiring an attorney. We'll have more videos in the future. I'm hoping that you've learned something on HOA 101 so that you can give better service to your clients. Thank you.